season. And he's going to try and go all the way around the outside. Oh, no, they come together. That's a late lunge. Fantastic stuff there.
Hello there and welcome back to the Gfinity Arena, the home of F1 Esports and the Virtual Grand Prix. Did you miss us? Maybe just a little bit, just smidge? Well, listen, great to have you on board with us tonight. We thought it was well past time to get the gang back together, so we did. And we're here to bring you a whole new set of races over the coming weeks featuring celebs and F1 drivers going toe-to-toe on the virtual tarmac. Joining me here on this very desk, making her triumphant return to Natalie Pinkham.
Yes, we're back. It's great. It feels like we've hardly been away, in fairness. We're here just before Christmas doing the Pro Series, weren't we?
Yeah, which just had a new champion, for those who missed it.
Yeah.
New champion. Very exciting to be back here again for the Virtual Grand Prix, which happened last year due to lockdown.
Yeah.
And now we're repeating it, bringing a bit of fun and joy to people around the world.
It sustained us, didn't it, through the lockdown first time round. And we obviously didn't want to be in another lockdown now, but we are. And it gives much needed entertainment and excitement. And actually, you'd have to say it's so close to the real thing that drivers do want to kind of keep their skills honed through the off-season. And it gives you the chance to do just that.
Yeah, we were chatting about the long winter between actual F1 races. So this fills in that gap a little bit. And this time round, there have been some changes, which I'll get to in a moment, spicing things up a little bit around here. But also, there's a worthy element this time round.
Yes, indeed. So there's the opportunity for the teams to win money for their chosen charities. And you have to remember at the moment, another victim of this pandemic has been charities. They are really struggling at the moment. So any kind of boost that they can get, and this offers them just that. Yeah,
and every team has got their chosen charity and they'll all be winning money for said charity. So tonight we kick off the 2021 Virtual Grand Prix season in style with a trip to the Red Bull Ring of Austria, a ferociously fast circuit that is certainly not for the faint of heart.
We've waited 112 days. It's here.
The 5 lights are out and we're underway for Formula 1 in 2020.
I keep getting out to stall. I can't change it.
This is unbelievable.
I lost the front right corner.
What a race, and then we had 11 left.
Albon is all over the back of Hamilton.
This circuit is very, very quick.
There's another coming together.
My goodness me, I can't believe my eyes.
They've touched again. Yes. Bottas wins the season opener.
Yes, Hamilton is 6.5 ahead. He also has a 5-second penalty.
That is what we missed. Formula 1 is back.
Tell you what, I'm hyped for it now. Do you reckon that was a helicopter, that last shot, or a drone?
Could be right. Is this a trick question?
No, I don't know. I'm just curious.
Okay.
I love that shot. You see the whole...
Very cool. You get a real sense of it. And actually, you get a sense that it is a very short track, but it's a tough one. There's so many places that you can make mistakes. You need to be precise. There's high-speed corners, and there's a strong emphasis on braking. But it always delivers in terms of drama, doesn't it?
Even last year, Lando fans know exactly what I'm talking about. Ooh. If we've picked together, put together 3 brilliant moments, let's start to go back a few years of Verstappen and Leclerc, this wheel-to-wheel action in 2019.
Yeah, unbelievable, wasn't it? And to put this into context, this was Max Verstappen. Stunning fight back in front of a sea of orange, all of his Dutch fans making that short trip across. After a nightmare start, he was P9 at the end of the first lap. And then, of course, he comes back here and, you know, it sort of almost signalled a bit of a changing of the guard because here were 2 young drivers now battling it out. At the front, you know, really sort of signalling what's going to happen, hopefully for many years to come. But interestingly, you also,
there it is.
There it is, that's the moment. But interestingly, you saw a change in Charles Leclerc after this because he realised that you have got to get your elbows out if you want to. And as you saw then, they rubbed wheels at turn 3 and it gave Max the win, ultimately. And yes, onto the what was actually probably my highlight of the season. Absolutely magnificent to see Lando Norris on the very last lap of the race put in a fastest lap by 2/10. You know, this is a guy who was 6 seconds behind, 6.5 seconds behind the race leader with just 2 laps to go. And this was for his first ever podium in Formula 1. And at the end, it was 4.8 seconds, and he got the fastest lap and got the podium.
Yeah, remarkable stuff. And obviously, Lando took part in the Virtual Grand Prix last year. Looking at the do's and don'ts, this is definitely,
yes.
I'm filing this under don't. What shouldn't people do today competing?
An absolutely disastrous start to the Austrian Grand Prix for Ferrari because Leclerc and Vettel collide. And, you know, you'd have to say it was an overly optimistic move from Leclerc, forces himself down the insides, and with it, a double retirement. Now, if you think that Ferrari had fast-tracked these updates to the car, wanting to give them full race distance so they could sort of just gauge where they were going to be throughout the rest of the season. And actually, in many ways, that set the tone because it was a very difficult relationship between the two of them right up until Seb leaving and now obviously going to Aston Martin.
Yeah, and we were talking about it before we went on air, about all the new technology that they put in Ferrari, and it just didn't work out that day. However, all right, let's break it down for everybody. What are the things that people must learn and know from this then, if you're going to pick out those 3 examples?
Well, the first example is get your elbows out. There are always overtaking opportunities, but you can make mistakes. You've got to be careful. You've got to remember, actually, that Max didn't even get confirmation that he'd won the race for 3 hours afterwards. So it really, you know, the stewards really went through it with a fine-tooth comb. And then, of course, Lando's given you the example that don't ever give up until the checkered flag's fallen because anything can happen. And thirdly, yeah, don't take out your teammate.
OK.
And you have to say, though, Charles was so publicly berating of himself. He always is.
I remember.
He publicly flogged himself for that one. But yeah, but not to say it didn't happen again, because if you cast your mind back to Bahrain, a very similar incident between Seb and Charles again, but they're no longer teammates, so.
I'm sure everyone watching right now has your favourite moments from the Austrian Grand Prix. However, I did mention we've got some format changes, and here they are for you right now. Last season wasn't an official championship. Well, this one is. It's a 3-event championship, competing to raise money for the designated charity of each team's choice. And we start, and I'm excited about this, a new sprint race with eSport drivers, and that will set the grid for the feature race. So they have to work as a team here. Feature race will be a 50% race distance, and there's no assist in the sprint race. And why should there be? These guys are the pros. They're the F1 Esports. Of course they don't. However, we're being very kind here at the Gfinity Arena and saying full assists are allowed for any of the celebs and drivers who aren't as used to being in the sims as our pros. Yeah, which is fair enough. Obviously, we'll have Austria, then we'll have the British Grand Prix, and then we'll have Brazil. So that is exciting ones there. One of your
great
favourites.
tracks.
Yeah.
You'd have the home Grand Prix at Silverstone. That's going to be epic.
OK, so the big moment. Who is going to be driving today? Well, let's take a look at that lineup right now. And I'll explain something here for you, because you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, Alfa Romeo, you have Danny Berezny. Next to him is Thibaut Courtois. Great to see him back. Danny Berezny in the sprint race will be representing Thibaut Courtois. So whether Danny finishes in the sprint race will be the corresponding grid position for Thibaut Courtois. I hope that makes sense for you at home. You'll obviously have Shut there representing Jack McDermott, the pie face. Great to see him. A return of some Liuzzi is returning, which is exciting to see. And then Oscar Piastri making his F2 debut later on this year. And Nicholas Longo, we mentioned it earlier, the F1 Esports Pro Series, one of the best drivers in that competition. So a great lineup of drivers there. Anyone stand out for you?
Well, I have to say, I love this format because you get to see such a cross-section of talent, and it's just a really nice way, isn't it, where you finish quali is where your teammate will start the race. It's nice and simple, but it should be a bit of fun.
Yeah, and you can also say, will you let me down? That can definitely happen during this.
I'm interested to see how the teamwork works, though, because they're going to presumably stay and give advice throughout the race.
Yeah, they will do. And it's been going on up in the coming race today. There's been a lot of streaming on Twitch as well. Let's look at the second lineup of drivers. And this one I'm looking forward to because there has been a transfer already. Ooh. And that is Brendan Lee, the 2-time world champion, moving to FDA Esports team there. And that is David Tanitza and Arthur Leclerc joining. So Brendan Lee representing Arthur for the feature race. And there we have Pietro Fittipaldi coming on board for the Haas team there. And of course, McLaren. You've got a few sim racing streamers, Jimmy Broadbent and Ben Daly. They're going to have to work as a team, and that's not always easy, but the Shed Dweller, I'm sure, will do very well today. And moving on to the third picture of our drivers today. Jarno up there, last season champ in the F1 Esports Pro Series. He has just moved to Mercedes. Some definite shock moments on Twitter this week. I couldn't believe he has done it. He's moved, and he will be looking after Stoffel van Dorn, who was brilliant last year in the Virtual Grand Prix.
Absolutely brilliant. And I don't think it really was a shock. I mean, Jarno Opmeer was so fantastic in the Pro Series, and it's a natural move for him to go to Mercedes, but it'll be interesting to see what he can do for the Stoffmeister. Good to see Ant Davidson back as well.
Your bestie.
He's having a few technical issues at home, so I hope it doesn't hold him back.
Yeah, now, there was another name you would have seen there, and that was Jeffrey Herlings. Now, last year, a brilliant moment with Alex Albon and Max Verstappen. They headed out. It was a big promo piece, and Jeffrey Herlings, you will remember this incredible moment on his bike, jumping across the Red Bull cars. We can watch it right now. Truly incredible moment there, the MXGP champion there, Jeffrey Herlings. So we'll see if he can deliver on the sim. I mean, he's great there, but you've got to prove it in the sim as well.
Well, I know, but Red Bull, they always just go above and beyond, don't they? They love to entertain. It's brilliant.
And Alvaro Corazon will be representing one of the drivers today. It was going to be George Russell. Unfortunately, he will not be able to compete this evening. So instead, we will have Flo Street stepping in for George Russell. He was the sort of the unofficial champion last year, but we hope he may be able to join the competition later on. Now, you'll be wondering, who's going to look after us in the commentary? Well, fret no more, because that iconic voice of motorsport, Alex Jakes, is up there in the commentary box, and a man who looks like he's had no problem with lockdown, looks like he'd be doing weights, Matt Gallagher. Absolutely love it.
Only weights of food. That's all I've really had over lockdown. But really excited to be back once again for the Virtual Grand Prix. Austria, it's going to be such a tightly contested battle, both in the sprint race and in the feature. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is going to be a really exciting one with the new format, sprint race, and then, well, if you put it on pole and then you head backwards, it's all on our very, very exciting lineup for the Virtual Grand Prix.
Yeah, now these gentlemen, obviously, Natalie and I have been speaking about it. You've got these esports pro drivers. Do you think they'll have a bit more pressure on their shoulders going into the sprint race?
Well, this is a circuit where you can easily get a time penalty. We see it all the time, just a tiny bit off the circuit, and the esports drivers struggle. And then later on, maybe the skill level maybe goes down a little tiny bit. So if the esports drivers struggle, then
you've managed to insult
very
everybody. That's
at once. That's what you get from this commentary desk. But either way, it's going to be very entertaining.
One insult there. Out of all those drivers that we've seen, the return of Thibaut Courtois stands out for me. Arthur Leclerc, let's not talk about the incident in Monaco in the Virtual Grand Prix last year, Matt. However, is there someone that people at home should look out for? Maybe Stoffel van Dorn, because he was incredible last year in the Virtual Grand Prix.
Yeah, he was. Stoffel van Dorn. I think he'll be looking to be right at the front. We're missing a few of the top guys from last time, so it's all to play for, really, for the victory around Austria, but it's all down to qualifying, which isn't up to them. It's up to their esports guys. And as Natalie said, I'm sure there'll be a bit of blaming if one of them doesn't perform.
Well, you've had one insult already. Natalie and I will sit down at the desk and we'll pass it over to you, gentlemen. Best of luck for the sprint race.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's see how many insults we can cram into the next 10 minutes. That's about the time that they're going to be racing around this 4.3-kilometre circuit. Easy to get a penalty. And F1 have been wanting for a while to do a sprint race to set the grid. It's finally going to happen.
It is, yeah. Turn one, I think, is the place we really need to watch out for any penalties. You can easily cut the inside and also extend on the outside because you want to get a really good run down towards turn three. So, and there's not a huge amount of places where the drivers can make up time around here. It's such a short lap, and I expect it to be a very hotly contested and probably a few elbows, as the guys were saying, with obviously Leclerc learning in real life. I think there's going to be a lot more elbows in this virtual race.
It's going to be really exciting. We didn't have this for the Virtual Grand Prix last year. Had it in the esports, and it turned into a tactical battle for these esports drivers. And we are not too far away now from getting our first Virtual Grand Prix underway. So this is going to be to set the grid for the first Virtual Grand Prix of the year. The sprint race is coming your way when the 5 red lights go out. Here we go, we're racing then with David Tonitza ahead of Danny Moreno. He's the driver you're on board with right now. Marcel Kiefer, P3. It's line astern. The dive is coming from Alvaro Caraton, who I think was dueling it out. Oh, and there's contact in the background there as off goes one of the Williams, but it's the race lead for David Tonitza. He's being chased down by Danny Moreno.
Full damage for these guys. There'll be no damage later on, but the esports guys are using exactly what they would have in the Pro Series. Tonitza leading from the front. He was not last year's champion, but he was the year before, so Tonitza knows how to lead from the front right now. Ahead of Moreno, big move for Danny Moreno, going from McLaren to Mercedes this year, and huge high hopes for Danny Moreno and a very strong start up in P2. Kiefer P3, Rasmussen, his teammate, down in 10th. Who was definitely a championship contender in the Pro Series, but right now you'll see these intervals. It's only a 5-lap race. The moves have to be made very quickly, and there is great opportunities with how close this field is.
Yeah, no real incentives for the drivers to hold back now. So David Tonitza is qualifying this car for Marcus Armstrong. Marcus Armstrong, who's been a runner-up in the Formula 3 Championship in the past, racing in Formula 2, as we look at the move there between the Haas and Freddie Rasmussen battling it out there, and it is side-by-side coming all the way up the hill. We're looking at Josh Adowo in the McLaren heading up to turn number 3 in 6th position, and Josh Adowo is qualifying that car for Jimmy Broadbent in the half-distance Virtual Grand Prix later on. If it finished like it is right now, David Tonitza would put Marcus Armstrong on pole ahead of Anthony Davidson alongside him on the front row, but we've still got a bit of time on the clock. Tonitza looking very comfortable though. Danny Moreno making that move to Mercedes. Marcel Kiefer's been with Red Bull for a while in P3. He helped take that team to the team championship in the F1 Esports Pro Series last year. And we're just looking at the concentration for Danny Moreno, who had a great breakthrough season with McLaren, moves on to Mercedes, and he's not letting David Tonitza get away as we go on to lap 3 already.
Yeah, this is flying by, isn't it? 5 laps around here, goes by with a blink of an eye. For the second row at the moment, Kiefer is representing Alex Albon, and Brendan Lee is representing Arthur Leclerc. This is setting up the feature race beautifully, in my opinion. Alex Albon very quick last time out in the Virtual Grand Prix, so Arthur Leclerc. So this could be very interesting indeed. Fabrizio Donoso down in 9th at the moment, coming under pressure from Cedric Tomei. And, well, right now, it's just so difficult. The DRS is now enabled. There's a big gap between Adowu and Baldwin. So right now, the best that Donoso can hope for is P7 at the moment.
Yeah, Fabrizio Donoso, runner-up in the past, in the very first year of F1 Esports.
It was ages ago now, that. Back when we went to Abu Dhabi.
Ages ago. And he is qualifying the car for Christian Lunga in the Alpine there. Racing in last year's livery.
Oh, look at the smile. Marcel Kiefer having a great time.
They don't normally look this chilled out. They are normally super intense. They're having fun with this one. He's catching Danny Moreno. He's trying to put that Red Bull on the front row.
The thing is, you know, Marcel Kiefer, you might think, oh, you know, he's having a laugh. He's not really pushing too hard. I guarantee these guys are going much quicker than anybody else in the world right now. As Fabrizio Donoso all over the back of Jarno Otmir, last year's champ.
Last year's champion, another driver to switch teams, as you heard from Tom earlier on. There's the late braking move from Donoso, who gets alongside but isn't able to take that 8th position. Fabrizio Donoso with a penalty. That's what the black and white flag means on the left-hand side. Here's a move further down the field. So Donoso had a half look, and Cedric Tomei trying to take that position away. Cedric Tomei qualifying for one of the Fittipaldis later on, because both Hasses are being represented by that famous racing surname, and still it's as you were. Half moves being completed, but right now not enough. And I can tell you that Cedric Tomei is qualifying for Enzo Fittipaldi, the Formula 3 driver, and not the F1 driver for the last 2 races of the year. As we come across the line onto the final lap of the race. This race start was so important then, and David Tonitza does not look at this stage, no need for the commentator's curse this early in the season. He doesn't look like he's going to be caught though.
He doesn't indeed. He's going to have to get past this next DRS zone after turn 3. And here's a move, potentially Brendan Lee looking to the outside of Marcel Kiefer. Nothing doing, but he'll get DRS once again. This is for the front of the 2nd row of the grid, P3.
Brendan Lee trying to put Arthur Leclerc ahead of the Red Bull on the grid. He's up to P3 for the moment. He goes to the inside, but Marcel Kiefer isn't going to give him the room. It's all getting very Hamilton and Albon there, but they're still next to each other, wheel to wheel, as we go into the technical part of the circuit, and Brendan Lee finds his way by.
Oh, he looks good in Ferrari colours, doesn't he, Brendan? Up to P3, makes a move on Marcel Kiefer, and saying, hey, look, when Pro Series comes around towards the end of this year, I'll be there. Here's David Tonitza, his teammate.
David Tonitza has found his way to the final corner. He's done his part for Ferrari today. He's crossed the line in first position and put that car on pole as Brendan Lee makes it a Ferrari 1-3 and weaves across the line. David Tonitza does the job and puts Marcus Armstrong on pole for the Virtual Grand Prix later on. And it was fast, it was furious, it was frenetic, and we have a Ferrari on pole. Thanks to that man celebrating there, it is David Tonitza. Excellent stuff from him. He never really looked like he was going to get beaten. That's our first action of the season. Sets us up very nicely for the half-distance race later on.
If I didn't say it was going to be thrilling, I should have done. What a start, and a lot of mistakes being made early doors from the likes of Alvaro Carreton. We don't know what happened, but comes spinning off. And a new boy joining the ranks for the team, Alessio Di Capua. It joins them. It didn't go to plan for some of them, but for the FDA Esports team, what a start for Brendan Lee and David Tonitza. Absolutely
Fantastic, wasn't it? I mean, Marcus Armstrong must be delighted. He's on pole thanks to that brilliant effort by Tonitza. Yeah, to clarify, it was a one-lap time lap, wasn't it, in order to determine the first grid for the sprint race. But I'd love to see this format rolled out in the real world.
Really?
I don't really see it happening, but you know, it's kind of the ultimate teamwork, isn't it? Because you're putting in the strongest performance for the sprint race in order to benefit your teammate for the feature race.
I definitely felt the tension going through there, but the Ferrari team made it look very easy with Brendan Lee and Danny Moreno, who's just moved to Mercedes from McLaren. And for him, it was an epic start for him and gives the best chance for the feature race. And
Ant Davidson.
Which is your bestie.
Yeah.
But then, in that moment, we think with the FDA Esports team, they are hopefully going to make as much money as they possibly can for Save the Children.
Yes.
It's now, they're done their bit. It's now up to their counterpart in the feature race, and hopefully they'll be able to do just as well.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we saw Marcel Kiefer looking fairly chilled out there, but make no mistake, they are under pressure because, you know, everybody looks to these guys as the ones who never make mistakes. You know, they put 8 hours in a day on the sim every day, and this matters to them. You know, it's bragging rights. It may not count towards the Pro Series as it did last year, but this matters because, you know, the spotlight's on them very much, and the racers are relying on them to qualify as high up the grid as they possibly can. But as you say, some great charities are going to benefit from this today. McLaren's a Mind, and I know that Lando and Carlos were talking a lot about Mind last year. Obviously, mental health is a big issue for a lot of people at the moment, so it's great that they're giving such public support to them.
Yeah, and when you mentioned about Austria, the Grand Prix, Verstappen and Leclerc, and that sort of ding-dong battle that was happening there was a carbon copy of it with Marcel Kiefer, and I don't even know which camera to look at right now, with Marcel Kiefer and Brendan Lee. That was a brilliant moment, and Brendan Lee, I feel like new lease of life. He was with Mercedes, and now with Ferrari, and having to show, look, I can do this, because Red Bull are the team to beat when it comes to the team championship.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? When a driver does move teams, it can either just give them that extra spring in the step, and which has clearly happened here. It can be difficult to adjust to a new team, just mentally, but he's done a fantastic job. We always knew that Brendan Lee had it. He had moments last year in the Pro Series where he sort of just went under the radar a bit, didn't he? But he's come through, you know, his talent will always sustain him.
Two-time champion. For Red Bull, that have the Wings for Life UK spinal cord research. And that Red Bull, the guy that was smiling earlier on, and Natalie and I know this from the F1 Esports, when they're battling out in the Pro Series, there's no smiles, the concentration, the nerves are there. But he is representing Alex Albon, who has now got a fantastic chance to repeat some of the heroics that he was doing in the Virtual Grand Prix last year. It was that sort of battle with him and George Russell the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sad not to be seeing that today with George not here, but it will be interesting to see how Kiefer and Alex now work together, what support Marcel can give him for the feature race.
Yeah, and
not that Alex needs it. I mean, as we saw last year, he did a brilliant job, didn't he?
Yeah.
In Brazil. Remember, they overtakes for the lead.
It was the
insane.
shouting of George, which I will never get out of my ears. It's like a ringing noise. Alvaro Carreton would have been representing George Russell instead at Flow Street, Alejandro Perez, and that's not going to be easy. So Alvaro Carreton, whatever happened in that race just then, in that sprint race, he'll feel like he's let down a guy that's going to step up Flow Street and not going to be able to produce. But hey, stranger things have happened, starting down in P18 or 17 and then working your way up the field.
Well, as you saw with Max Verstappen in 2019, you can work your way through this field. There are overtaking opportunities here, but it is a long race, 42 laps. They're going to have their work cut out. As Ant, Karun, many of those, Johnny, Damon have told me, people look at the Red Bull Ring as if it's simple because it's a short circuit. It's anything but.
OK, let's have a confirmation then of what just took place in that sprint race. Don't forget to remind you, it will affect what happens in the feature race. David Tonitza, obviously doing the best he can for his Ferrari counterpart. Armstrong, then Danny Moreno in second, Brendan Lee in third, Marcel Kiefer down in fourth. Josh Ottawa, a new driver, got signed last year for the F1 Esports Pro Series and beginning to show what he's capable of for McLaren, which is fantastic. Danny Beresny in Alfa Romeo, they've lost Jarno Otmir, but Danny Beresny obviously will be representing Thibaut Courtois. So Thibaut Courtois will be starting down in sixth. James Baldwin, fantastic, one of the world's fastest drivers. He will be looking after Ben Daly, and that battle, and it's one of those, if you're into sim racing and you love it, it happens constantly, and that's what we've learnt from 2020 is happening. He is going to have a sort of battles teammates with Jimmy Broadbent, the shed dweller, or as they call him, Sheddy Irvine. That will be interesting to see how they work as a team, because now that's what will happen in the feature race. You have to work with your compatriot to make sure that you get them many points for your charity. Yeah, and I wonder how much transferable skills there are between the two of them. They obviously can't be in the same room at the moment. We've seen such an intense skill set from these pro racers. Our expectations are pretty high, aren't they? But we forget just how difficult it is. I mentioned it's a long race. I said 42 laps. It will be about 42 minutes. It's a long time to be concentrating that hard on a technical circuit like this one. So you're expecting maybe a couple of spin outs, maybe? I think quite possibly. OK, well, we're looking forward to this. We'll get back into the action as soon as possible. Just a reminder of some of the charities. Alfa Romeo, Save the Children. If they potentially win the end of this race championship, money will go to Save the Children. And don't forget, a $100,000 prize pool. Every team will be winning some money for their charity. As Natalie said at the beginning, definitely need it now more than ever during this pandemic. Wings for Life, UK Spinal Cord Research, Scuderia AlphaTauri, FDA Esports, Save the Children, Haas will be looked after as well. McLaren Mind and Alzheimer's Research UK for Mercedes. That's just a couple. We'll name a few more as we go along. For someone like Stoffel Van Dorn and Ant Davidson, they'll be taking this, and I think it's important. They want to make sure that this is a thrilling race and as fun as possible, but they'll be taking this seriously. You know Ant Davidson better than anybody. There is no doubt, they're competitive beings, and with whatever they put their mind to, even if they're playing tiddlywinks with each other, they want to win. But as I've said so many times before, this is the one sport that does translate well in the virtual world, and it's the skill set that can constantly be honed on your kit back at home. We talked about the difference between being here in the Gfinity Arena and being at home. The pressures are different, but they're there. And the competitiveness is as high as ever. What about brotherly rivalry? Pietro Fittipaldi. I know. How great to have that name back here. And obviously at the tail end of last year, back in Formula One with Pietro stepping in for injured Romain Grosjean. What a lovely guy. What a lovely family. And it's just about, there's been 5 Fittipaldis who've taken part in Formula One. I mean, that's saying something about that gene pool, isn't it? Yeah, and that family rivalry, which we'll be looking forward to in that Haas team. And then down in Alpine, Christian Lundgaard and Oscar Piastri, he's going to be making his F2 debut. This will hopefully give him a little bit of racing practice, because that's what we noticed last year with the Virtual Grand Prix. When we spoke to Pierre Gasly, they were sort of beginning to get back in, and it was helping them get sharp, ready for the real-life racing again. Yeah, and quite frankly, we all need something to do, don't we, right now? It's not an easy time for anyone, and this is a way of staying connected. Yeah. Now, Brendan Lee, He's the man out there, just been signed by FDA Esports, the Ferrari team. I watched his stream last night with his fellow teammate David Tunitsa. Today, he's going to be representing Artur Leclerc. He's done a brilliant job starting Artur off in P3. Brendan, I believe you are there right now.
Yes, I hope I am here.
Yes, you very much are. We've got an aerial view of you. I don't know if it's a drone or a helicopter. Just a little callback for earlier. Brendan, I want to talk to you about the fact you've made this move. First of all, how did you find that sprint race? Something different? Was it enjoyable?
Yeah, it was actually really enjoyable. I'm not too happy with my qualifying lap. My first sector wasn't too good, but there we go, racing driver making racing driver comments again. But the sprint race was actually really, really enjoyable because it had a different element to it. In the F1 Esports race, you're trying to manage the ERS, the DRS, and your tyres throughout the race, whereas this was just as fast as you can go. So it was a very different prospect to the situation, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and Brendan, obviously, looking good in red. Looking good in red.
Thinking just that. Anyone looks good in Ferrari red, don't they? Face it.
Thank you. It feels really special to be wearing it, and obviously, I think you can tell by my smile on the camera. So yeah.
Okay, well, listen, Brendan, obviously going up there. Last night in the stream, and Brendan knows what I'm going to ask about this, a big debate over pizzas. David Tunitsa likes pineapple on his pizza.
Oh, 100%.
It caused a massive debate in Italy.
Gallagher's with me.
But, Brendan, I have noticed on Twitter, they've got a new name for you for this year. You've moved to Ferrari. They're calling you Brendan Italy. What do you make of that new name, Brendan?
I think it's great. I think it was very creative. I have to give him that. I didn't think of it personally. So when I saw it, that gave me a good laugh. And I still need to buy the lion teddy bear that you recommended to me to have as my mascot.
Yeah, this goes back to David Tunitsa having Tonzilla, a dinosaur that he has, which actually helped him get his first ever championship. Brendan, I do want to ask, though, you're a two-time world champ. So at which point, how have you instructed Artur Leclerc to tackle this feature race around Austria?
Easy. Go fast, don't crash.
Simple as that. Come on, there's got to be more to it because people will be watching at home thinking, well, it's easy then, but it's far from easy. I don't want you to explain why F1 Esports is so brilliant, but Brendan, Artur's going up there. What have you given him in terms of advice?
So obviously Arthur is a very experienced sim driver now. He did the virtual GPs last year, and he's a very accomplished real-life racing driver, so his talent is immense, like his brother. But I've sort of given him the guidelines of what the game is, what curves to take, how to approach it, because obviously there's slightly differences in like the gear ratios and how you attack a corner with certain setups. So I've really just improved the elements of him understanding the game and how to get the most out of the game, because his raw pace is already phenomenal.
Yeah, and obviously Natalie and I spoke about this last year. We were using the 2019 iteration of F1 Codemasters game. We're now using the 2021. How long did it take you to get back to how you felt when you were racing on the 2019 game?
To be honest, you never get back to how you feel on a previous game because the way you drive it is slightly different and how you approach the corners is slightly different. But in terms of comfort level, I'd probably say it took me about 2 to 3 weeks. And then after that, it's about fine-tuning the setup and your driving style to maximize that final 10th.
Okay, well, listen, Brendan, I wish you nothing else, actually. You've done your bit. It's now up to Artur Leclerc. Brendan, so good to catch up with you, and congratulations on your move to Ferrari. We'll hopefully see you again in 7 days' time for your next sprint race. Take care, Brendan.
Thank you very much. Ciao.
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 Oh, he's learning. He's not mucking around. Natalie,
Like Seb, you know, when you learn the language, you ingratiate yourself with the team.
and that's what Carlos right now
yeah.
and Charles Leclerc are doing with the testing that's happening going on right now. Brendan, I wanted to ask him because I wanted to really stress that fact. We were using the 2019 game. Yes, it is a game. It's a simulation of the game, but to master it takes hours to get as good as someone like Brendan is. And Artur will have experienced a little bit with sim racing, but when Brendan can help in those little corners to maximise the speed that you can have on track, that's really going to help from a pro like Brendan to help Artur go into
I think it'll make all the difference because, as you say, you know, these guys are putting in hour after hour on the sim and getting their skill sets up. as much as they possibly can, but any kind of advice that you can get, because it is different. It is different to racing in the real world. And I have to say, that's what really impressed me with the Pro Series last year, is how they went from track to track to track and learnt really on the bounce.
And obviously this Austrian Grand Prix, we start tonight with the Austrian Grand Prix, 1 minute away from that race. And then obviously next week we'll have the British Grand Prix, and then after that we'll be heading to Brazil. Going into this one, you've seen how fast it can be on that track. Is there any final thoughts for those drivers when they head into this? Maybe this is their first time heading around the Austrian Grand Prix.
Well, the undulations between turns 1, 3 and 4 make it very difficult. The middle sectors, turns 5 and 6, it's all about picking the right line and having a good front end. Braking as late as possible for a lot of the corners in the first half of the lap, and the second half of the lap is all about carrying a good minimum speed through turns 5 to 9.
Okay.
I mean, I sound like a racer, don't I?
50% of this race. As soon as everything is set up, we will head there in just a second. I know Matt Gallagher and Alex Jacob are going to be looking after us, but it really is a thrilling race. Everyone is setting up in their lobbies right now because they're in their own homes, wherever they might be. They are getting set up
and that does
for
make
this
a
race.
difference, doesn't it? I mean, good and bad. Some people thrive within the pressured environment of this place, and some actually prefer to be within the comfort of their own home. Unless you've got dodgy internet connection.
Which may actually happen. I want to get the thoughts of Matt Gallagher and Alex Jakes here up there in the commentary box. Gentlemen, when we go into this race, obviously they've heard from Brendan, just send it. Try and ignore Jeff, he pops up in the game every now and again. But in terms of what Natalie's just said about those corners to look out for, Alex, what would you be focusing on here?
Well, I think we saw at the start of that, there's no need to risk it into turn 1. It's quite a long time to go racing here, and it's going to be difficult to avoid the errors. So see the flag and don't take any risks super early on. I say that, it's sort of ignore the Johnny Herbert rule from last season, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, I don't think they'll be taking risks into turn 1, but turn 3. So they'll give it 2 more corners, even though one of them doesn't really exist. But I think that hairpin's going to have a bit of chaos into it.
Yeah, and we mentioned those 3 moments that stood out for Natalie and I, we picked out there. Are there any that for you that stand out when you go to that Austrian Grand Prix? And maybe it is that Lando moment from last year. I know I was definitely buzzing when he got his first podium.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal moment because he had so much time to make up. I always love the 2 Mercedes racing wheel to wheel up to turn number 3, Rosberg versus Hamilton. Was it going to end in tears? Of course it was going to end in tears. What about you, Matt?
Well, I guess the Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, because obviously I was rooting for Leclerc, as lots of people know exactly the phrase that I'm not even going to utter. But yeah, that was like a big moment as well. And of course, there was lots of controversy, lots of waiting to see what the stewards would say. There's been quite a bit of controversy into turn 3, hasn't there?
And gentlemen, I want to ask you, Matt, obviously, from your work, you look at someone like Ben Daly and Jimmy Broadbent stepping up today to represent McLaren, whose charity they've chosen is Mind. They are, for people at home to understand, they're the sim racing guys out there. I know there's others, but they really are almost at the top of the pack in terms of what they're doing online and spreading the good word of sim racing.
Well, look, there's absolutely no sort of excuse if they don't finish 1-2. I mean, they practically live in their sim rigs. But I know that they won't because Jimmy doesn't tend to play as much Formula 1 and Ben, well, he's just not as good. But no, I think that, you know, they're great content creators, and I think that they're going to do probably quite well. Ben's, I think, starting in P7. So yeah, those guys, you know, they're great and they've got a huge following, and I'm sure a lot of people will be watching along.
OK, now, gentlemen, I know you're going to be commentating in just more moments away from getting the race underway. But in terms of Arthur Leclerc, can we say that last year, whatever he did in the Virtual Grand Prix has any impact on this year? I mean, yes, he may be used to being in the sim and racing, but at the same time, he might not have actually raced too much on the 2020 game.
No, it's true, but every single time we saw him in a Virtual Grand Prix last year, he looked really solid. He looked capable of good results, so I wouldn't expect that to change too much as we go to the new version of the game, the F1 2020 game.
OK, and listen, we're getting moments away. I know with esports, getting the sim, imagine around the world, they're getting lined up to come in and start racing. So it just takes that little bit of extra time.
I love it, though. You feel like this web has just been cast around the world, bringing us all together on one racetrack in Austria. It's sensational.
Yeah, the nerves might be going through, the fun, that anticipation, the excitement as they're getting ready to gear up for this. As we say, the F1 Esports drivers, the pros, have done their bit. But someone like Thibaut Courtois can be very grateful towards Danny Berezny. He's there. And he's not short of a trophy or two, is Thibaut Courtois. All 2 meters of him. Now, I don't know if he would be having the same problems with George Russell did when he stepped into Lewis's car last year in terms of how a tall man has to squeeze into that. But he looks very relaxed. This is something that he does as a relaxing thing for the times when he's not playing for Real Madrid or for Belgium.
It's escapism, isn't it, you know, for them? But they do take it seriously because they're all competitors. Look at that trophy collection. I'm sure that's just only about 10% of it.
Yeah, he's obviously on Twitter or maybe just WhatsApping right now. Maybe getting in the ear right now of maybe Pietro. There might be going on. Maybe they've been all sort of linked up, ready to race. There's Pietro Fittipaldi. And he will obviously have the bragging rights potentially. As you can see in the screen, top right, they're in the lobby. They're ready to race. We're just moments away. 2 minutes potentially away. You've got drivers who are joining. Someone like Enzo there, he'd be hoping to get the bragging rights over. Stepping up, there is the rig there, the full setup. And I suppose this is what we're so used to with 2020 and going into 2021, as much as we don't want to, but we get an insight, a snapshot into their world, what their setup is, don't we?
Yeah, having a little nose around their front room, isn't it? It's great. Do you know one point I was going to make about Austria? It's quite interesting when you look at the circuit, because it's not a circuit that Lewis Hamilton has necessarily excelled at. He's only won there 2016 recently. And what I find really interesting is when they go back, and it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, they think, this is a track that I can nail, I'm really strong at, or not. And then that history tends to repeat itself. So it'll be interesting to see who does well here, who's driven well here before, and who can replicate that and, you know, emulate the success of last time round.
I don't know about you now, but I feel like we've filled for long enough now. It's time to head over to those commentators.
You've done a great job.
Up in the box, Alex Jakes, Matt Gallagher.
Thank you very much. Was that filling? I thought that was all. I think it all went to plan. Tom, I think it all went to plan. We are finally going to get ready for the Virtual Grand Prix, get us underway. A bit of your racing fix for you. Whether you are locked down, it's a strange time, and we're hoping to bring you some F1 content with the F1 2020 game and a grid, of course, that's going to be mixed up purely because the drivers who are now driving in this race didn't qualify the cars.
Exactly. So it's not the fastest guys at the front, which is exactly what we all want to see. And of course, this is a bit of fun and a bit of entertainment for you guys watching, but also $100,000 for charity, which is awesome to hear. So I'm really excited to see, well, it'll be quite obvious which ones are taking it really seriously and have practiced and others that maybe haven't got up to speed so quick.
And even though last year we saw, I'm just going to be casual about it, eventually George Russell took it very, very seriously. They all want to win this one, and you don't have too long to wait. We're going to head to the grid around a rather short circuit, I have to say, 4.3 kilometers, 2.6 miles, and it is finally time to get the new season started. Just a few more seconds to wait, and we are going
you can see
to
the
be
countdown.
racing. There we go. It's time for the 5 red lights. We've got Marcus Armstrong ahead of Anthony Davidson. It's lights out for a new season of the Virtual Grand Prix, and Marcus Armstrong with a good reaction time. Will Anthony Davidson challenge him for the lead? Arthur Leclerc hanging on to P3. Thibaut Courtois. Whoa, there's going to be a big one at the back there, because whoever was at the back just sent that Red Bull. And just like last year, we have had chaos on the first lap. Armstrong, now Ferrari 1-2, with Leclerc ahead of Anthony Davidson. No, Anthony Davidson going deep and going off. Armstrong retaking the lead. Then it's Leclerc, then it's Davidson. Jimmy Broadbent finds himself up to P3.
I think Jeff Hurling forgot to assign a brake pedal because he flew into turn 1 very aggressively indeed, and I think took Tonio Liuzzi and that's Mercedes backwards as well.
That's Anthony Davidson heading backwards. Anthony Davidson heading off the road at turn number 4. Armstrong, Leclerc, and then this man.
The shed dweller up to P3. What a great start. That's why I insulted the pair of them. I don't know where Ben Daly is right now, but he's in 8th. So yeah, but Jimmy Broadbent up in a podium position. What a start from the man.
Private battle between the two Ferraris out front, and then, fair to say, chaos behind. Either way, lap 1 becomes lap 2. And we have about 40 minutes of racing to go. They're about 3 wide further back. Vendaly trying to hang on to that position, with Lucas Salvadori trying to take the place away into turn number 1. Back to the battle for the lead, with Marcus Armstrong still ahead of Arthur Leclerc, who is trying to make his way past finished in the podium positions in a couple of Virtual Grand Prix. Let's check in with Stoffel van Dorn. P5 he was for a second. It's now Enzo Fittipaldi ahead of Pietro Fittipaldi, and losing out there Thibaut Courtois as we go for a battle for the lead and sending it to the inside to take P1, Arthur Leclerc.
Oh, there's no team orders there. Marcus Armstrong tried to hang on around the outside. Arthur Leclerc clearly showing he has the pace that he showed us last time out for the Virtual Grand Prix. He takes the lead of this race, and the Ferraris right now are storming clear.
The Formula 3 driver from 2021 getting past the Formula 2 driver for 2021, but he's not leaving him behind, not at this stage. Lot of commitment from Marcus Armstrong. Very easy to get a penalty. Nicholas Latifi's proving that in P8 at the moment. He's already got a 3-second penalty. It's not an exaggeration to see we're going to see plenty of those by the time we get to the checkered flag.
The fact there's only 2 is a miracle after lap 1. But Alex Albon, he started at the back of the grid for a reason I'm not sure of, but he's up to P9 already and has now left the session.
Yeah, that'd be a commentator's curse.
Yeah, that would... Oh, my goodness me. I'm just going to stop talking, put myself on mute and sit down and listen to you, Alex.
Enzo Fittipaldi is taking P3 away from Jimmy Broadbent, and the Formula 3 driver manages to get up to 3rd position. Jimmy has not decided to give up on this one, though. He's got the DRS trying to come back. Is he going to brave it around the outside? No. Fittipaldi last of the late breakers, and the Haas is up to 3rd position.
Jimmy on the mediums, though, so he's on an alternate strategy to Enzo, who is clearly going for the fast, soft compound tyre for the first stint of this race. It's most likely going to be a 1-stop unless you have a really big drama, but then again, there's no damage. So if you're having more than 1 pit stop, I think you've had some kind of issue there. But Arthur Leclerc leading out in front, Marcus still within DRS, and Alex Albon's back. And that's the beauty of this game. If you disconnect, you can rejoin. So hopefully, Alex just rejoining behind Ben Daly in 11th.
Anthony Davidson has a 3-second time penalty for heading off the road. So there's no damage on these cars, but you are still going to be penalised. And I'm sure that we will rack up the penalties as we
can
go.
you imagine if these guys had no corner cutting penalties either?
It'd be every...
Goodness me.
Well, we tried that in China last year. Anyway, let's move on.
Don't bring up that last corner. Goodness.
So, Nicholas Latifi freeing his Williams to the back of Thibaut Courtois. The joy of the Virtual Grand Prix, that we've got a real Formula 1 driver coming up to the back of the Real Madrid goalkeeper. We were looking at all of his accolades and trophies in his gaming room there, and he ran as high as 4th place, has dropped down to 7th. Stoffel van Dorn making his way past, and they're in a good position at the moment. Not as good as these Ferraris out front, though, and Arthur Leclerc unable to break clear of Marcus Armstrong. So we've got plenty of battles all the way through the field, and this engrossing one for the lead.
Indeed, so I wonder if those two, just like we've seen in the F1 Esports Pro Series, perhaps teammates working together to pull each other along. I know there was a little bit of will-to-will battling, and maybe Arthur Leclerc wants to be the leading Ferrari, but at the same time, there's a lot of money on the line for the charities at stake with Ferrari. Save the Children charity. So right now they're putting themselves in great position, as is Pietro Fittipaldi right behind Jimmy Broadbent.
Yeah, wants to get after his brother, but he's got a McLaren in the way. At least he did have a McLaren in the way, and Pietro Fittipaldi moves himself up to 4th place, and he's going to try and close down that gap.
Can I ask how high Pietro Fittipaldi's force feedback is? It looked like he was wrestling an elephant. Unbelievable.
Oh dear, he is, and maybe he needs a little tweak on the settings. Either way, it's not slowing him down too much. Top 4, all on those soft tyres, then 5th, 6th and 7th, all on the mediums. As we've got a Ferrari 1-2, a Haas 3-4, but it's Enzo ahead of Pietro, and nice battles shaping up. Lap 5 of 36, this first Virtual Grand Prix of the year. After this, we go to Silverstone, and then we finish at Interlagos, 3-race championship. As you pointed out, Matt, every one of these teams playing for charity. And we're about to go on board with Stoffel van Dorn, the GP2 champion in the past, a Formula E race winner. And he is, of course, he was one of the drivers who was in contention for the real Mercedes seat in the Sakir Grand Prix. Went to George Russell. We all know what happened in that one. And he is trying to get past Jimmy Broadbent, who, once again, and we saw this a lot last year, absolutely electric start from Jimmy Broadbent.
It's almost like his starts aren't in sync with when everyone else has their lights go up, because he makes so many positions at the start of the race and then just tries to hold on as much as he possibly can. But right now he's still the leader of the alternate strategy, although Stoffel van Dorn looks like he's really settled himself into the race after the carnage of the first few laps. and has a bit more pace than Jimmy at the moment. And also Enzo Fittipaldi, you've just been looking at the intervals for him. P3 is matching the two Ferraris out in front, so be interesting to see if he can start to eke away at the advantage that the pair have in P1 and 2. Also, quick mention, Pieface has got ahead of his teammate Thibaut Courtois, which I'm sure he never thought he'd ever hear. Pieface, a big football fan, content creator on Twitch, 330,000 followers, and doesn't really like Jeff. I've seen a very, I showed you the clip earlier, Alex.
You did.
Not a particular fan of Jeff.
Yeah, he's
Pieface.
raging, I think is the technical term.
Raging is an understatement, and that's coming from me.
Here's the move for Stoffel Van Dorn. He's been lining it up corner by corner, and he goes to the ever-popular overtaking place of turn number 3, gets the move done late on the brakes, and now he is the lead driver on that medium tyre. Could pay him back later in the race. Still, Marcus Armstrong is not being dropped by Arthur Leclerc. They are miles clear. Well, not that far, but 3.3 seconds is miles at this stage of proceedings, but plenty of penalties still being dished out. Jimmy Broadbent, Nicholas Latifi, and Pieface showing you that in 8th position. Still the Ferrari's lead then, as Jimmy Broadbent tries to hang on to 6th place. He's already been passed by a former Formula 1 driver. He's got a current Formula 1 driver right behind him.
Now, if you don't get a penalty after 36 laps around here, you're looking in very good shape. You can see pretty much lap by lap another penalty gets added on. So right now, Lucas Salvadori's just relaxing in P9, but with the penalties, he's going to be promoted all the way to P6 if it stays this way, which I know it won't over these next 28 laps. Look at Jimmy, backwards cap. He's really repping it. Well, is he wearing is that a Lando t-shirt as well? He's absolutely loving it with the McLaren gear, but I'm actually very surprised Jimmy's ahead of Ben Daly right now. Ben Daly down in 11th. It's, well, disappointing to say the least. Look, I know I'm being horrible about Ben, but Ben knows that I'm going to say this. He needs to be up there.
Oh, Ben.
I love Ben, really.
I know you do. I know you do. Didn't we have a challenge race?
He's down to 12th now. Sorry, carry on.
Did we have a challenge race last year where he might have outpaced you? Or am I remembering that incorrectly?
That was so long ago now. No one remembers.
No, I don't think. Well, should we move on? It's lap 8 of 36. And once again, Marcus Armstrong now beginning, I would imagine, to slightly worry about that gap extending at the front.
Oh, Enzo, though. Look at Enzo's gap, 2.4 now to Marcus. So it looks like Enzo has the pace for the 3 of them at the moment.
He is going to work. Enzo Fittipaldi, who doesn't live too far away, lives just outside Maranello, part of that Ferrari Driver Academy. So is Marcus Armstrong. And Ferrari have shown they're willing to promote from that Driver Academy up to the main team, and also seats Alfa Romeo as well. Let's go on board with Lucas Salvadori, and the pro biker finds himself in P8 at the moment. Nicholas Latifi just ahead. Latifi trying to get past the McLaren, not able to do so. A penalty further back for Antonio Liuzzi, who raced for many Formula 1 teams, and he finds himself in 16th position at the moment. Anthony Davidson in 15th position, having started from the front row, got caught up in that lap 1 melee. And Salvatore, it's all rather calm and composed at the moment, as calm as it can be.
Is this a virtual GP?
A virtual GP, when it's all calm and composed. It felt wrong saying it.
Pietro gets a 3-second time penalty in 4th. That might demote him by the end of the race, with Stoffel Van Dorn and Jimmy Broadbent both. Well, Jimmy has a penalty as well, but I don't think if you're getting one penalty at this stage of the race, as Nicholas Latifi and Christian Lundgaard adds to their tally, it means you then you're vulnerable to another penalty. If you keep corner cutting, it's so much easier to get another one and another one. So right now, you can see it's getting very colourful. Well, I say colourful, it's black and white, but you know what I mean.
Another one for Antonio Liuzzi, as we see Nicholas Latifi thinking about the move on the softer compound tyres, gets alongside. What's his traction like? He's still got grip from those softs at the moment. He's got the DRS, and now he's got 6th position if he can pick his braking point. And Lucas Salvadori getting in the mix as well, trying to follow the Williams through. And Nicholas Latifi will go in search of Stoffel Van Dorn, who is further up the road and well placed on those medium tyres at the moment. It's another 3-second time penalty for Flow Street in 17th place at the moment.
Quite surprised to see Oscar Piastri so far down. He was incredibly quick last time out when we had virtual GPs, both in the Formula 2 sort of feeder thing that we did before the main event, and then he then joined the main virtual GP events towards the end of it. Arthur Leclerc now gets a 3-second time penalty out in the lead. That changes things out in front, Alex.
It does indeed. Arthur Leclerc now hoping that Marcus Armstrong's going to make the same mistake, because Marcus Armstrong has the net race lead at the moment. Enzo Fittipaldi still error-free as well. And I'm going to stop, for Miss Aluity's sake, I'm going to stop reading them out.
Well, I mean, if he keeps racking them up, he might be getting ghosted and put back to the garage with a DSQ next to his name. But right now, 16th. Great to see Tony Aluity racing in this. It's awesome to have such a varied amount of personalities and racing drivers involved in this. It's a good bit of fun and also raising money for charity. I have absolutely no problems with this event. Love it. And there's Arthur Leclerc. Where's his television? It's a very weird angle, isn't it? It looks like he's just kind of visualising the track rather than actually racing on it.
I know he's a Leclerc. If he's that good.
So don't bother installing the television. I don't need it.
He's going to have a very good Formula 3 season if he's that good. One of the expected title protagonists in this 2021 season. Right now, he's got a bit of work to do. He's got to clear 3 seconds or hope that Marcus Armstrong makes a mistake. And Armstrong has responded in the last couple of laps, crucially, clean laps. Here's Alex Albon trying to get past Pieface in the Alpha. And he's got a couple of Alphas ahead of him. And great drive off the corner. Albon, who is trying to make his way through the field on a circuit where he could have won in real life, of course, as we saw earlier in the show, and he's going to try and go all the way around the outside as he gets the power down. I think he got the move done. Albon up to, well, he was up to 10th, and Pieface fights back.
Yeah, he was getting struggling for traction there off the curbs, as you can see, sliding all over the place out of turn 3, and it looks like Ben Daly has now got back ahead of Alex Albon and Lundgaard as well. So Albon falling down to 13th now, as we take a look at the two Ferraris. Relaxing out in front, Enzo Fittipaldi just slowly eking his way into this, and Haas scoring a big amount of points. And Enzo, right now, will be finishing in P2 with Arthur Leclerc's penalty.
Yeah, Ferrari racing for Save the Children, and Haas racing for the Grand Prix Trust.
Oh, that's close.
Very nearly sending it to the inside Armco. Marcus Armstrong, who finished on the podium here in Formula 2 last year, likes this circuit, proving it once again, but lost a couple of tenths there at turn 1.
Pieface is into the pits. Quite a few guys on the soft tyres now deciding to switch over to the mediums. There's Thibaut Courtois. You can see, well, you can also see his onboard in the camera as well, which is rather nice as he gets very close to the McLaren of Jimmy Broadbent ahead of him. And both of those guys on the medium. Stoffel Van Dorn has broken away from those drivers. And Ben Daly just eking back towards his teammate now. He's clearly listening. He's pushing now.
3 screens at once. It'll never catch on. Thibaut Courtois with a golden glove in the background there for the most clean sheets at a World Cup. And among many other trophies and medals in the background. We go on board with the Alpha driver and trying to hunt down Jimmy Broadbent. Thibaut Courtois loves a virtual Grand Prix. With us last year, with us once again. Got a yellow flag at this part of the racetrack. Who has brought that one out? Not immediately obvious as we go across the line, and Ben Daly has a 3-second time penalty.
Ben Daly corner cutting, I never.
The smug look on your face, man. It's outrageous. Oh, you're having fun rinsing him. But he's in the points. And trying to improve his position. Thibaut Courtois, the Real Madrid goalkeeper, under braking, going past Jimmy Broadbent on the same tyre, and he does a bit of Verstappen action there to the McLaren. That allows Ben Daly to get past his teammate, and Ben Daly now closing in on Thibaut Courtois.
Oh, he's actually hit Courtois and just pushed him wide, and Ben's going to go through. Unbelievable.
That's one way to make your way past. It's P6 at the moment, and Courtois, who put all that effort getting past Jimmy Broadbent, now has to defend, and he don't want to be off the racing line at this part of the racetrack because it's very, very easy to find the gravel, and making his way past as well. Now Alexander Albon trying to get up to 8th position. He is up to 8th as into the pits comes Arthur Leclerc.
It's getting a little bit intense out there now after a lull. You can see in the background it still hasn't ended. And I think Arthur's going to come out just behind this trio we're seeing into turn 1.
And Thibaut Courtois having a brilliant battle with Jimmy Broadbent, absolutely sent it into turn number 1. Jimmy fighting back. Here we go, joining that battle right now. And Thibaut Courtois hanging on to 6th position for the moment, and he will hang on to it. And Antonio Liuzzi disqualified from the session after multiple warnings. Now, last year we speculated that that was very, very unlikely to happen. Apparently this year it can happen, and that's a warning for all of them out there.
It is indeed. Unfortunate for Tonio. Lap 15, clearly taking a few too many liberties around this track. Turn 1 probably being the most likely of where he's both corner cutting and extending. Here's Marcus Armstrong coming into the pits. His teammate has filtered out into a huge gaggle of cars. So,
oh, he's got a penalty, 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So his teammate's got 3 seconds and now he's got 5. And Arthur Leclerc needed that because he didn't come out in a great position.
And Enzo's got a penalty, and Pietro. It's even game.
So it's a penalty fest out there. Nicholas Latifi's got another one. He's now on 6 seconds for the GP. And Stoffel van Dorn is your race leader. So Stoffel van Dorn started on this medium tyre. Others have come in to get rid of the softs. The problem is, when you get rid of the softs, you might find yourself in a mad battle like this one. There is the lockup for Jimmy Broadbent, and all of this time is hurting Arthur Leclerc. It's not hurting him that much because Marcus Armstrong has come out behind him.
It's like multi-class racing, this is brilliant stuff. So Arthur Leclerc getting past Jimmy Broadbent for now, and so much later on the brakes than Thibaut Courtois ahead. Then you've got Enzo Fittipaldi. Can see the Ferrari driver as Arthur now goes to the inside. A very unorthodox place to overtake, but makes it happen on the fresh tyres. And now it is Enzo's time. And there's Antonio Liuzzi, unfortunately now on his phone. And, well...
Texting the race director, why have you disqualified me?
Only had 15 penalties.
4 teams in Formula 1 and over 4 penalties to get disqualified from this one. Anyway, it's been great to have him on the grid for this one. He will go no further than 13 laps, and we will see Arthur Leclerc in a great position right now. But what can Stoffel van Dorn do as Enzo Fittipaldi finds himself getting past Jimmy Broadbent and trying to put the pressure, of course, Enzo Fittipaldi ahead of Marcus Armstrong. And he's made that stop. Armstrong's made his stop as well, so Fittipaldi now trying to clear the Real Madrid goalkeeper and go for race victory.
So we've got 3 drivers who haven't got a penalty so far, 17 laps into this race. Stoffel van Dorn, Luca Salvadori and Oscar Piastri, and they could end up winning this race if everybody else keeps getting so many penalties. Here's Enzo Fittipaldi to the inside.
Yeah,
Over
like that
Thibaut
one.
Courtois, lovely move from Enzo. And next up is Arthur Leclerc, who's getting held up by Ben Daly for P3.
So Enzo Fittipaldi has cleared one Ferrari, and he is 1.5 seconds away from the other one who held the race lead. Needed his teammate to make that error. He made the error in the pits and not extending off the racetrack. So Arthur Leclerc got the break that he needed there. Monegasque driver in a great position on those fresh medium tyres, but he's unable to get past Ben Daly at the moment. Stoffel van Dorn, Alex Albon and Ben Daly, who we go on board with the McLaren. Marcus Armstrong's got an extra 3 seconds added to his time. And Ben Daly trying to hang on. He's going to get barged out of the way from Arthur Leclerc, making progress through the field on those fresher tyres. And he's now up the 3rd position, but he didn't like it.
I was hoping for the finger wag that we saw from Brendan Lee in season 1, and it was, well, not particularly happy, Ben, there for Arthur Leclerc's dive bomb. Nothing short of that. But Ben should be pretty happy running in P4 at the moment. Hasn't been disqualified. And, well, he's got quite a stern look of determination on his face there. He wants a good result, and why not?
Wants to take his opportunity here. Stoffel van Dorn, Alex Albon yet to make their stops, and they will get the Red Bull soft tyre to attack at the end of this opening Virtual Grand Prix of the year, lap 19 and 36. And can Van Dorn get himself into a position to overhaul this man, Arthur Leclerc, who has sided his way through the field right now. He's got Alex Albon up ahead. We saw Albon versus Leclerc last year in Brazil, and it's absolutely thrilling. We're about to get the slightly younger version of Arthur Leclerc attacking the Thai driver, and he's going past at the top of the hill. That's up to P2 for Arthur Leclerc as we focus on Enzo Fittipaldi trying to get past Ben Daly.
Frantic action. Enzo Fittipaldi now should be pretty easy on the inside of Ben Daly here. Completely different strategies. Ben still hasn't pit yet. going long into this race on the mediums so we can whack on the softs at the end. Interesting to see Pieface and Christian Lundgaard both on the hard tyres, so they felt like they couldn't go the soft medium or medium soft strategies, which I'd imagine everybody else would be doing, and I can't see that being the fastest strategy for those two. But right now Arthur Leclerc has got dispatched pretty much everybody apart from Stoffel Van Dorn, 5.3 seconds down the road, and then he will have a clear track through to the end. Stoffel should have a good chance of potentially getting somewhere near the podium with no penalties to his name right now. And here is Jeffrey Hurling, who held it into turn 1 on lap 1.
Very accurate. There he is, the motocross world champion. We saw him earlier in the show, and he is strutting his stuff in P16 at the moment, still yet to come into the pits. And turn 1 did not go to plan, but great to have him with us and racing as he tries to close down that gap to the next car up the road, long way up the road, Oscar Piastri.
You might have just heard me laughing. Well, I've just heard in my ear there is a combined total of 163 seconds worth of penalties so far accrued from 20 laps of racing. That's just virtual GP in a nutshell.
How many?
Don't make me say it.
Amazing, amazing. And yeah, Luke, I can't. Are you being serious?
Yes, serious? I'm being completely and utterly serious. And make that 166, and it's Stoffel.
Stoffel!
No!
Just 2 drivers, accurate enough. Oh, Lucas Salvadori and Oscar Piastri in a battle to be the last to be penalised. Ben Daly's into the pits from 7th position. And Stoffel Van Dorn carrying on out there, but being caught all the time by Arthur Leclerc. And we go on board with Lucas Salvadori, the immaculate Lucas Salvadori. When we went on board with him earlier, he was positioning the car beautifully. Let's see if all that changes. Oh, I thought it was going to be him. It's Nicholas Latifi with another one. If you're wondering what the order is, well, your guess is as good as ours right now.
Well, with that amount of penalties now reaching probably 169, Lucas Salvadori could win this race. That's all I'm saying. But yes, it's clearly very difficult for these guys. Here's Pieface. Smiling, which is great to see. He obviously, as I mentioned earlier, can rage occasionally at things that go wrong with the game, but he looks like he's having a great time down in P14 at the moment. Jack McDermott is his actual name, but he's known as Pieface on the YouTube and, well, just general internet scene. And great to have him during this race, and, well, I'm sure he would have wanted to run better than 14th, but look, it's all a bit of fun. And he's on a pad as well. You might be wondering, how is he leaning over that much and using a wheel? He's not. He's one of my brethren from back in the day. Controller. Love it.
I love the fact we're approaching 200 penalties, and you had to clarify that Pieface was not his actual name. What a wonderful
200 penalties or 200 seconds?
Amazing stuff. On board with Oscar Piastri, the super accurate Oscar Piastri. Alex Albon's made his stop as well. Drops him down to 8th position. And Christian Lundgaard's got another 3 seconds added on. Oscar Piastri right now without the black and white warning flag indicating that he's got a penalty. Is he going to take another position? Nice and late on the brakes. Medium tyres plus past hard tyres, and the Alpine. Might look like a Renault. It's an Alpine, okay? And it's gone past, and it's up to 12th position.
If you tell me it is, Alex, that's all I need to hear. So he gets through ahead of Pieface, yes. That isn't his actual name, but I'm just clarifying, okay? Everybody else has got full names, and then we've got Pieface 23.
Let's hear from our race leader as he makes his pit stop.
I wouldn't pit just yet, looking like end of 21 or 22, actually will come out probably ahead of Latifi anyway.
Just to clarify, that was Jarno Watney's picture, but definitely not Stoffel Van Dorn. But either way, still taking this very seriously. Out in P5, fresh soft tyres, and he can really attack the guys ahead now, who will be on struggling mediums towards the end of this race. 13 laps to go. Enzo Fittipaldi now on the back of Arthur Leclerc. Marcus Armstrong has a 2 extra second penalty because his was speeding in the pit lane, so he has 5 seconds. And as far as I'm aware, Leclerc and Fittipaldi have 3 seconds, but they could have 2 hours for all I know.
Yeah, this could change, but let's enjoy the battle between Enzo Fittipaldi and Arthur Leclerc. Enzo Fittipaldi, who has cleared 1 Ferrari, and then he has gone to work to whittle away that advantage. And Fittipaldi now trying to get past Leclerc. Enzo Fittipaldi racing in Formula 3 this year, known by his fans as the Little Shark or the Baby Shark. And he has got past his brother, and is he going to clear them all here and take victory at the start of the year? We will get you clarification for how many seconds they are going to be penalised, but we can tell you it's definitely going to be 3 seconds for Pietro Fittipaldi. He's definitely on 6 because he just got, that's Pietro Fittipaldi, sorry, in 4th place, who's got another penalty. Enzo Fittipaldi in 2nd, chasing down at least 3 seconds. Fastest lap, Thibaut Courtois in the Alpha.
Love that, down in 15th, but it's just whacked on a fresh set of softs. And the fastest lap for Thibaut Courtois. He's very quick on this game, as is Enzo Fittipaldi, all over the back of Arthur Leclerc now. Such a long corner, this one. You need so much patience. You want to get on the power, but you have to wait, especially in the dirty air like Enzo Fittipaldi. His best opportunity will be down towards turn 3, as we've seen so many overtakes and dive bombs and crashes in this virtual GP so far. And Enzo now, last couple of corners before starting the next lap, and then thinking about, well, he definitely will be opening the DRS as he's within 1 second, and will have a good opportunity if he decides to deploy all of his ERS down towards turn 3.
We're on board with the leading Ferrari, Arthur Leclerc.
And it is a level playing field, 3 seconds each.
There we go, there we go. 3 seconds each at the moment. So you can't make an error if you're Arthur Leclerc, otherwise you're going to throw away the race lead. Same applies there to Enzo Fittipaldi. You have to pass and then clear a huge gap. And high-pressured stuff for the two of them out front. And we've worked out how to show you how many penalties across the board. Marcus Armstrong with 8 seconds, not what he wants to hear at all, because that's going to promote Pietro, or it would have promoted Pietro a few seconds ago. He's now up to 6 seconds, so but just the 3 for the two out front.
Rumour has it that graphic was made purely for the virtual GP. But no, Enzo Fittipaldi just kind of, as Pieface gets another penalty, but Enzo just getting into the sort of, well, just kind of trying to work out where to deploy his battery and whatnot. If you look at his steering wheel, he has 50-odd% battery left, so he's in pretty good state when it comes to how much he has left to deploy and attack Arthur Leclerc in front. As we've seen, level playing field, both 3 seconds worth of penalties. Marcus Armstrong with 8, and Pietro with 6. Means Marcus will just about hold on to the final podium position right now. Stoffel needs to gain around a second or so on those soft tyres as well to get himself up to P4, so it's a bit of a time trial really now for the likes of Stoffel to really just eke into that advantage, because it's not over yet.
Long way to go. You can see how much Enzo Fittipaldi is wrestling that car all over the road as he gets the power down, giving it everything to try and get past the Ferrari and try and take this first Virtual Grand Prix of the year. But right now, Arthur Leclerc has an answer, even though Fittipaldi is in that DRS zone. He's been heaping the pressure on for a while. He can't find a way through at this stage, and Fittipaldi is pushing all the time as he tries to make his way up to the back of Arthur Leclerc, and both of these are going to be on the F3 grid this year. Enzo Fittipaldi is going to be in his 2nd season, 1st season for Arthur Leclerc, and Enzo Fittipaldi coming on really strong at the end of that campaign. Struggled in qualifying, always had great race pace. It was true in F3 last year, it's true in the Virtual Grand Prix this year.
Made a couple of mistakes, Enzo, but just held on to DRS. I'm talking a few thousandths of a second. He was a way of losing DRS, which could have been curtains for his chance to catch Arthur Leclerc. But he stays within 7/10 now. And he doesn't want to be doing too much sliding, too much wheel spinning, because his tyre temps will start to skyrocket, and then he'll lose that grip and performance that he also needs. But he's up to 4/10 of a second now behind Leclerc, so he's really caught up. Here's Christian Lundgaard, just ahead of Anthony Davidson. Natalie's not going to be happy with Ant's performance, is she?
He's going to be hearing about it.
Yeah,
he's going to be hearing about it.
Surprised she's not WhatsApping him right now.
Christian Lundgaard hanging on. We saw him for a second there, bottom left, and he's in the points for the time being, except for those penalties that are going to drop him out in the final classification. Either way, Anthony Davidson taking it away on track right now and getting past him.
Just about. Christian Lundgaard on those hard tyres. The strategy's not working for him. He's not got that pace or performance. He has the durability with those hards, but he doesn't have that pure performance that the mediums are producing right now. Latifi gets another penalty. 15 seconds now, Alex. We're getting into DSQ territory if Latifi's not careful. As, bit of collision there from Fittipaldi.
Oh, Fittipaldi's going to find his way through. Enzo Fittipaldi, after trying lap after lap after lap, finally gets past the Ferrari, and Arthur Leclerc's defence has come to an end, because right now, getting to the apex first and taking the lead is Enzo Fittipaldi in the Haas. And now, what can the Monegasque driver do to try and fight back?
Controversy at turn 3 once again. Arthur Leclerc's not going to be happy with that move. Enzo just knocks him just a little bit deep into the braking zone of turn 3 and then makes the opportunity work with the DRS. Arthur Leclerc now needs to hold on. He has the DRS now. He doesn't look particularly angry, but I can guarantee he wants to get back to P1.
He's hanging on to it. This lap is so important. Slightly deep into the final corner of the racetrack, over the line again to start another 4.3 kilometre lap, and it's half a second for the race lead. Penalties everywhere else, and Stoffel Van Dorn in P5. Now very close to within a second, under half a second. Arthur Leclerc trying to come back, and if he gets a sniff, if he gets a half chance, you know he's going to send it after that treatment 1 lap ago.
Oh, absolutely. If we take a look a little bit further down the field, Stoffel Van Dorn has now promoted himself technically to P3 with the penalties ahead of him. So Stoffel has put himself on the podium just about right now. As Arthur Leclerc looks like he's got the pace to hold within DRS at least, stay within a second. Enzo, I love Enzo's camera angle here. It's one to be desired, isn't it? But he's leading this race. Again, another one. Looks like he's got some serious force feedback going on there. Definitely not for me. It ripped my arms off. But Enzo doing a brilliant job and showing he's got some incredible pace on this F1 2020 game by Codemasters. And Arthur Leclerc, well, he just continues his form from last year and his pace on the previous game. And it's not over yet for the lead.
We'll see how Fittipaldi does with that pressure on his shoulders. Stoffel Van Dorn finds himself trying to take another position here. It's Pietro Fittipaldi, two-time Grand Prix starter, and you can see the confidence that the soft tyres giving Stoffel Van Dorn better grip, better traction, better drive, and now a better position on track as he moves up to 4th place.
Quick shout out to Alex Albon as well, considering he was booted out the game very briefly. He's doing very well up in P6. He has got 6 seconds worth of time penalties for himself, as Arthur Leclerc is all over the back of Enzo now.
Now, is he going to try and go all the way around the outside? How brave are you feeling, Arthur? Oh, he didn't want to risk it into George Russell territory and find himself out into the gravel, but he has really been aggressive on this lap. And this is the pressure we were talking about a few moments ago. Can Fittipaldi live with it?
Look, we don't pay these drivers to give us entertainment. This is genuinely a battle for the lead. We see it all the time in Virtual GP, and we're seeing another one here around this Austrian GP circuit. Brilliant to watch. Arthur Leclerc coming back at Enzo, and it's a good job he didn't try to go around the outside there, because Enzo covered it off by going very deep into that left-hander in the middle sector. But Arthur now with the DRS could have a great opportunity to turn 3.
Is he going to send one to the inside or the outside? It's going to be the inside line. Is it going to be first position for Arthur Leclerc, who retakes the lead? They're level in seconds with the penalties applied, so errors either way could cost them. But right now it's being duelled out on track, and Leclerc retakes Fittipaldi, takes first position. We're running out of laps, and Fittipaldi wasn't able to stay ahead for that long. He's got to now try and regroup and re-attack the Ferrari.
He's not got a huge amount of energy left either, as you can see on the steering wheel with that yellow bar. Around 27%, I think that says 30% now. So he's got enough to maybe attack for a lap, but it really does depend if Arthur Leclerc's trying to bridge that gap. Right now, if you're Arthur, you're leading this race, you don't want to be expending your battery needlessly. If anything, just exchanging positions for the next few laps and then deciding, right, this is the penultimate lap now, I need to put my elbows out. Because right now, if they both have pretty expended energy, I'd say Enzo's in a great position with the DRS available to him.
The younger brothers are putting on a show here. Arthur is leading Enzo, and we are going to climb the hill once again, where we have seen so much overtaking action through the years. And Fittipaldi got his elbows out to go past. He's very close to hitting the back of that Ferrari as he's late on the brakes. But every half look like that, it's going to cost you time out of the corner. Marcus Armstrong is already going to be booted off the podium thanks to his time penalties. But Stoffel Van Dorn wants to do it on the racetrack. And the Belgian driver, has he got the confidence to go to the inside? You bet he has. And it's P3 for Stoffel Van Dorn.
Stoffel's having a fantastic race up onto the podium now. Without that 3-second time penalty, I'll be getting very excited, Alex, as I always do when I see any sort of potential like that. But right now, Stoffel 5.4 seconds behind with these two out in front. It's not possible, I don't think, on the soft tyres. It will start to ail now, start to really fall away from him. But he's done a brilliant job to get on the podium.
Luca Salvadori has finally got himself a penalty in just the Formula 3 champion, 12th position, Oscar Piastri, the only driver out there without a penalty.
Should get a trophy, some sort of non-penalty trophy. We need to sort it out.
You get to work.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You've seen the best person?
I'll do a handmade one, really bad.
Back to the battle for the lead, and Leclerc and Fittipaldi have stepped forward for this one. Stoffel Vandoorne hoping that the two of them get into each other. We have a bit more late drama and he can catch up in the latter stages. 33 of 36 right now, and it is a private battle for the lead, but it is pretty congested for the final places in the points.
Alex Albon now P5. He's going to be ahead of Marcus Armstrong. He's only half a second behind the Ferrari driver. So that'll promote him to P4 if no crazy things happen. Here's Latifi coming under pressure from Piastri. Well, it's not really for position anyway, because Latifi has 18 seconds worth of penalties, but he defends like it's worth everything. Arthur Leclerc gets another penalty.
Oh, that is going to change everything. Arthur Leclerc has the race lead, but not if you look at the timing page. Enzo Fittipaldi doesn't need to take this risks, and he's still keeping his foot to the floor, side by side for the race lead. And Enzo Fittipaldi wants that position. Oh, they bang wheels as they go up the hill, and the Haas takes the lead. He's got a 3-second cushion as well. Enzo Fittipaldi in P1. If he can keep it clean, he's going to take victory.
Does Enzo know? That's the question. Is he going to fight this like it's for the lead? Because right now he's defending like it is.
And if he goes wide, if he gains an advantage by going off the track, this would be back to level pegging, but Arthur Leclerc has done that on 2 occasions, and so now he's trying to force his rival off the road to make the error that would make this a level playing field once again.
He is indeed. He forced him wide at turn 1, which Enzo may have got a warning for, so it could be very close to Enzo racking up to 6 seconds, and then once again, it's all to play for. But right now, Enzo leads. What's Arthur Leclerc going to do? You know he's going to send it.
Weave left, weave right, try and make himself big in the mirrors. Penultimate lap of the Virtual GP. Once again, fireworks on track, and we're going to see Arthur Leclerc try and get past and force his rival into an error. He's got the drive, he's got the momentum, and now it's with the DRS up the hill once again. They're banging wheels for their 2nd lap in a row and trying to get to that apex first. He will do. The penalty is not for Enzo Fittipaldi, who maintains the lead, and the timing page is in his favour. Arthur Leclerc needs an error out of the man in front.
It looks like Enzo with DRS is going to hold on for now into P1. Arthur Leclerc maybe had a little look to the outside there, but just continues to follow Enzo. He has to force Enzo into a mistake that either costs him 3 seconds or gives him a penalty. Stoffel Vandoorne is closing in. In fact, Stoffel's going to take P2 with this penalty for Arthur Leclerc.
He is indeed. Stoffel Vandoorne on that soft tyre, absolutely electric pace. And as these two battle all the time, Vandoorne is going to keep this up because he might have an opportunity of victory as well. So the timing page is going to play a part. What can Arthur Leclerc do on this final lap of the race to try and force the error out of the Haas driver Enzo Fittipaldi?
Stoffel Vandoorne absolutely flying at the moment, 1.5 seconds quicker than the pair ahead of them. If they start fighting a little bit more on this final lap, Stoffel could join them.
And they are going to start fighting on this final lap. Arthur Leclerc isn't going to wonder about it. He's going to go for the late braking over the inside. Is he going to slow that one down? Surely not. No, he's off the road. And that's going to give the lead to Enzo Fittipaldi. Arthur Leclerc gets the penalty, and Stoffel Vandoorne is going to be P2. Arthur Leclerc was always going to send it, and did he send it? But he got a penalty in the first place. Armstrong and Albon fighting as well. Enzo Fittipaldi, if he keeps it clean, is heading to race victory.
Wow. That was brilliant stuff, those last few laps. Enzo Fittipaldi just holding on to it. Stoffel Vandoorne's only a second behind Enzo. Add a couple of laps to this race and we could be looking at a different winner.
Went on the alternate strategy, And that hard work from earlier on is going to pay off. Stoffel Van Dorn will get close, but not close enough. Enzo Fittipaldi comes out of the final corner, sees the checkered flag first, and wins the opening Virtual Grand Prix of the year. To his delight, when the time penalty is applied, Van Dorn goes ahead of Leclerc, who will finish on the podium. And it's Fittipaldi who gets past Armstrong, but you are looking at your winner. Enzo Fittipaldi is absolutely delighted.
Oh, it's brilliant to see. There's his brother.
There's his brother saying, well done. The Fittipaldi name back on top in Formula One. Fantastic to see.
Oh, that's great. What a great race we had. And, well, I hope everybody watching enjoyed that as well. There's Stoffel Van Dorn, a brilliant race from him.
He needed one more lap, didn't he?
Yeah, and he got caught up a lot at the start of the race. Without that happening, he could have easily been in with a chance of winning that race. But it's just brilliant to watch. I hope everybody watching enjoyed that. It's a great bit of entertainment, and Virtual GP is back.
It certainly is. Fantastic stuff. Arthur Leclerc played a brilliant part in that race, but you can see he's disappointed to have let that one slip through his fingers. And the Ferrari driver immediately onto social media, you'd expect to share his thoughts. Brilliant drive, and he will be targeting victory in the next 2 rounds that we have.
Yeah, it was brilliant stuff. And the sprint mode as well that we had at the start of the show is great. It mixed up the grid, and we got some amazing entertainment. A few of the drivers, especially Stoffel Van Dorn, getting caught up at the start, which then kind of hindered him towards, well, at the start to then try and take the lead at the end. But yeah, that was just awesome to watch, wasn't it?
The Virtual GP is back, and so is the entertainment.
Epic work, gentlemen, up in the commentary box. Mr. Alex Jakes, Matt Gallagher, making me loll at several points during that. Keep it clean. It's definitely not a phrase that you could say for that race. No. So many penalties.
Littered with penalties, wasn't it? I mean, I can't believe it. The cumulative over 166 seconds of penalties.
At least. And that's not even factoring in the last couple of laps. Yeah. But we saw there at the end what that meant to the Fittipaldi being at the top, Mr. Enzo, and then his brother coming to celebrate with him. And that's a beautiful moment. That's what you want to see. This is about the fun, the joy. We're in a lockdown, you know, we're able to enjoy this moment. F1 is not actually happening in the real life world at the moment, but we can enjoy these moments of what it means to people.
Absolutely. It meant everything to him. And I thought it was going to be bragging rights for the 19-year-old Brazilian F3 driver over his brother. But actually, I think his brother was almost as delighted as he was. I mean, it was just great to see.
Yeah, and all the things that were happening there, Artur, we knew he was good. Got a P4 in Vietnam and a P5 in Monaco last year. But listen, I should also point out, DHL, fastest lap goes to the one and only, the man with all those trophies, Thibaut Courtois.
Oh, wow.
People were tweeting me saying, do you know what, Tom? He wasn't WhatsApping or tweeting anybody. He was checking on his FIFA team, his team of the week. So that's what's happening. But great from Thibaut Courtois. I don't believe there's any points that go towards this championship, but that'll give him some encouragement, and him and Danny Berezny being able to talk it through for tactics for 7 days' time. Listen,
that's
now,
seriously impressive for a footballer to get that when he's alongside real racing car drivers.
Exactly. Exactly. Listen, it's time to wrap up everything because we ran out of time with a delay of the race. And we'll be back in 7 days' time. Of course, you'll be joining me. We'll have Matt Gallagher and Alex Jake from the commentary box. They will be back again with us, and we will be heading to the British Grand Prix.
Come on.
Austria, done. Dusted. Enzo Fittipaldi is your winner. And don't forget, all of the winners, they're making as much money as they possibly can for their charities. We'll see you in 7 days' time back here at the Gfinity Arena. Thank you very much for watching tonight. Take care.
Bye-bye. That's great.
What a bold move to start the season. And he's going to try and go all the way